of our Lord Jesus Christ. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah,
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus and his disciples left from there and began a journey through Galilee, but he did not wish anyone to know about it. He was teaching his disciples and telling them, "The Son of Man is to be handed over to men, and they will kill him. And 3 days after his death, the Son of Man will rise." But they did not understand the saying, and they were afraid to question him. They came to Capernaum, and once inside the house, he began to ask them, "What were you arguing about on the way?" But they remained silent. They had been discussing among themselves on the way who was the greatest. Then he sat down, called the 12, and said to them, "If anyone wishes to be first, he shall be the last of all and the servant of all." Taking a child, he placed it in their midst, and putting his arms around it, he said to them, "Whoever receives one child such as this in my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives not me, but the one who sent me." The Gospel of the Lord. So I think all of us at some point in our life, we do something that gets us noticed, right? And if it's a good notice, if it's something good we do, we might like it because it might make us feel important. And we kind of like to feel important once in a while, don't we? Even the disciples in the gospel reading, they were arguing about who was going to be the most important. So you got poor Jesus there trying to explain to them what was going to happen to him when they got to where they were going, and they were clueless. They didn't get it. Instead, they argued about who was going to be the greatest. So I think they got caught up just for a minute in worldly wisdom. And it's kind of interesting to note that the wisdom of the world back then is kind of the same as it is today. The world tells us what we are supposed to do today, right? Our goal is to be happy, and it's to live in a culture of comfort. That's what the Pope calls it. There is no stress, there's no struggles, there's no pain. We're just comfortable all the time. And we can't be comfortable if we live down here with the common person. We have to ascend up here. We have to be up here in society. And when we're up here, we have everything we want and everything we could possibly need, money, goods, and all that stuff. Then we're comfortable and we'll be happy. And the world even tells us how to get there. And we start when we're very young. We start by getting good grades in school so that we can get into college and get good grades there, so that we can get a good job, so we can make a lot of money, so we can buy a lot of stuff, so that people will recognize us by our stuff. And they'll think, wow, he must be pretty important. He's got a lot of stuff, a lot of money. Look at that fancy house, that fancy car. So we're up here. We're comfortable. We made it. We're done. But I think if that's all there is to life, is getting from here to here the way the world says we're supposed to, I don't think we're going to find happiness. I think we're going to be disappointed, and maybe even worse. Maybe we'll find that disorder and foul practice that we heard about in the second reading. So think about it. You go through everything the world tells you to do, and you ascend your way up in society, and you get to the top. You got all your stuff, you got all your money, and you're happy for a little while, and then you're not happy. So what do? You buy more stuff, bigger stuff, better stuff, newer stuff, shiny stuff. That makes you happy for a little while. And then what? You're not happy again. So what do? Buy even more stuff, even newer, even better. So you get stuck in the cycle of trying to buy your happiness. And you realize, you know what? It doesn't work. This doesn't make me happy. So you're disappointed. And what happens if you can't get up there? What happens if you only make it halfway, according to what the world thinks? Or what happens if you don't even get off the bottom? You don't have the money. You don't have the stuff. Not only do people not think you're important, they don't even know you exist. You might feel like a failure. In fact, the world will tell you you are a failure. You didn't get there. You didn't make it. You just fade away, and it forgets about you. And what if your journey from here to here, you're tenacious. You'll do anything to get there. That's your God, getting there. You'll do whatever. Your life gets full of greed and jealousy and envy. You'll do whatever it takes, even if it means taking stuff away from somebody else so they can't get there before you. There's your disorder. Yeah, so if we're going to think that the world's wisdom is going to bring us happiness, I think we're going to fall a little short. And Jesus today takes that wisdom, right, and he turns it upside down. He tells his disciples who were arguing on the way that if you want to be first, you need to be last. If you want to be up here, you need to be down here. So what does that mean? Well, he kind of showed us what that meant when he had the child there, and he grabbed the child and he put his arms around it. And he said, "Whoever receives a child such as this receives me, and not me, but the one who sent me." You see, back in Jesus' day, children, they didn't have any status. They were nobodies. They were insignificant as far as the world was concerned. So when he picked up that child and he put his arms around it, what he was telling his disciples then and what he's telling us now is we need to receive, accept, love, and care for those people that the world thinks are insignificant. That's his way. So is it bad then to go through what the world wants us to do? Is it bad to get good grades in school, to go to college, to get a good job, to make money? Is that sinful? Well, I hope not, because that's what I did. Remember, about 3 weeks ago, we learned that it's not what's outside of us that defiles us, but what's in our hearts. So we can do all that stuff. We got to analyze in here. What are we doing it for? If we're doing it just for our own selfish gain so that we can buy things, big things, fancy things, so people will notice us and say good things about us, yeah, then we're probably headed for pain and disappointment. But I think what Jesus is asking of us is take whatever that is, wherever you are. If you're way up here and you have all this stuff, use it to come back down, to be down here with the people the world has forgotten. If you've gotten halfway up, you don't have the big job and all the stuff, but you do have something, use it to come back down here, to descend, to be where the people are that the world has forgotten. Last Christmas, just before Christmas, I had a chance to distribute some of our gifts that we collect from our giving tree. And we did it in the school basement. And people come down with a card or piece of paper or something, give it to somebody, and then somebody goes and gets their gifts and brings them out to them. Last year, we tried to do something a little different. While they were waiting for their gifts, we handed out these little prayer cards. These are what go in our prayer box. And on the back of it, while they were waiting for their gifts, we just asked, hey, if you got anything you would like us to pray for, just write it on this little card. It goes in our box. We bring it to Mass every weekend, and we'll pray for you until Easter. And then we burn these in a blessed fire and turn everything over to God. So a lot of people fill them out, put them in the box. I was a little overwhelmed, though, by one woman who set it on the table, had the pen in her hand, and she just trembled as she tried to fill it out, asking us to pray for her husband who was at war, that he would come home safely. She's here by herself with her 2 kids, trying to give them the best life she can. But she really missed her husband. And then another man who laid the card on the table was filling it out, but the tears from his eyes splashed on the card and caused the ink to smear because he felt so bad that he let everybody down. He let his family down. He couldn't afford to buy them anything for Christmas. That's why he was here. See, those people didn't just need the gifts we provided, but they just needed to know that somebody noticed them, and somebody cared about them, and somebody cared about them enough to pray for them, just like all of us pray for them every week at Holy Redeemer. So even though Jesus is asking us to come down and be with the people that the world has forgotten, we see people in pain, we see people suffering, we see people in need every day, I bet, in our life. You know, it might be when you go to school, that kid you see at school that's kind of quiet, kind of shy, goes off by himself. Nobody likes him. He's suffering, he's in pain. Might be a friend of ours or a coworker whose marriage is just falling apart and they struggle just to make it through one more day of work. Might be a neighbor who's terminally ill. Could be a friend in the hospital. It might be somebody that just lost a loved one. Whatever it is, we experience people in need every day. And when we receive them, when we kind of like wrap our arms around them, love them, and care for them, we really do experience the love of Jesus. We receive Jesus. Just like helping those people receive their gifts from the giving tree, when I was hauling the presents out to their car, hugging them and wishing them a Merry Christmas, I had tears too. So yeah, we really do experience Jesus. So I think whatever we do, wherever we are in life, when we do that with people, when we accept them, when we love them, when we care for them, something happens to us. And I think we gain some of the qualities that that child had that Jesus wrapped his arms around. I think we become more joyful, we become more hopeful, we become more trusting. And any aspirations that we had of greatness, of people knowing who we are, that all goes away. That part of us dies. That part of us is crucified on that cross with Jesus. And in the words of St. Paul, we can say, Jesus, we have been crucified with you, so that the life we live now, it's not our own, but it's you living in us. So use us, Jesus, to love those that the world has forgotten, to love those that the world thinks are insignificant. Use us to love and care for your broken, lonely, and suffering people. Use us, Jesus. Just use us.